So guys, here we are, 1975 team, and we're all back together. We had a chance to honor Coach Godfrey last night at a special event at West High, and we're going to reminisce about the 1975 season that culminated in two championships, the 4A state championship and the mythical state championship. And my name is Tom Kent. I sort of played a guard on that team, the tiny guy on the team. And let's go to our next gentleman here.
Okay, I'm Steve Marshall, and I sort of played a guard also in those two games. They're probably the two worst games I played all year. I got kneed in a practice before we got there, and I had a hematoma on my thigh, pretty bad. And I started getting calcium deposits on it. It was really pretty bad to the point where I couldn't play. So we had to freeze it up to play. So I was freezing it, and every time I couldn't hardly walk anymore, I'd take me out, and I'd have to go out and we'd spray freeze on it, and then come back in. So fortunately, Ruben, who's not here, Soto, did a fantastic job of coming in, and Tom, both of them, and taking over for my lack.
Gimpy Steve.
Yeah, and that made our star have to play defense. Okay? Because he didn't really like defense, he wanted to play offense.
No!
And so he had to play defense too.
I've never heard that word before.
So I'll go over to Scott.
There's no D in offense, right?
Exactly.
Offense was always on. So.
No.
Scott Runya, and what a privilege actually to see everyone again and to play with these good friends. And one thing I thought I'd add in this, when we were younger, I remember hearing that West High had never won a state championship. And I thought, when we turn seniors, we're gonna do this. We have the group of players, we're gonna go win the state championship. I didn't really think we'd do it our junior year, but we were all juniors at that time. Dave Nicholson, I think, was a senior,
And Ruben.
and Ruben was a senior.
Mark
Stanley.
Mark
Stanley was a senior. But it was a dream I had. In fact, my parents, we sold our home, and my parents were looking in East High territory, and I begged them and I pleaded with them that I had to go to West High School, and the whole thing was we were going to win the state championship. Most people don't know that. And my parents bought a condominium for 3 years while I went to high school to stay in the West High territory. As soon as I graduated, they moved to Centerville, Utah, but that was actually a dream and a goal that I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. There's these athletes, and I didn't know Steve at the time before going to West, but Tom picked me up every day in grade school, and Burke lived around the corner, and we knew Spence, and
played that old schoolyard.
yeah, so it was the old Rose Park boys, and
Right.
and yeah, that was our dream, or at least my dream. And Coach, we did it. First ever for West High School. I don't know how long it had been in existence. I thought it was like 70, some 80 years. I have no idea.
As long as the school
existed, right?
The first one. In fact, they thought it was a championship if they got to the tournament.
Right.
At that time, and but it's not a surprise to me that we won, because I knew what we had. I knew the fact that we had a young guy over here that's only about 6'7" at the time, and in practice we had to get him a feed bag, because he was growing about an inch ahead. Don't you remember we had a
Strap that puppy on there
all the time, so we could eat. And I just loved to watch him grow. And your goal was to stay under 7 feet. I know that,
Yeah.
but you probably got a little bit over that, Spence.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And I saw all of you. I knew you before you knew me. Okay? And I knew all of you guys. And your brother, of course, he told me a lot about it. And I found out.
Scott, Coach claimed that he watched us play that faculty-student game at Northwest, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
So
I went to all those. Rod Minor.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't start when we were in high school. I looked at all the junior highs. I knew what was coming on.
Now you guys don't know this, but I wanted to play from a Glendale standpoint. We wanted to play Northwest. Because we had myself, we had Bruce Bithell, we had Glenn Oborn, we had Luke McDermott.
You had all South High
All the
kids.
South High kids that started at South High with the Glendale.
Really?
And we heard about all you guys. Of course, I played football with all these guys anyway, so I knew them. And we wanted so bad. And Mrs. Nicholson, David's mom, was a coach, girls coach over at Glendale. We were trying to get her to work something out, but she wouldn't.
So are you glad you didn't come
And
over and lose?
Sue.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't come over. I was trying to match everybody up, and we couldn't quite match up.
Okay.
Burke.
So yeah, Bert McConkey, sort of a forward. Well, of course, when Spence was out, I'd fill in for a big guy. But I just want to say briefly, Scott, with your defense, you were always poking the guy's belly. And I always thought, I mean, I kind of learned from that because it was effective. I was always trying to
Because it hurt.
Tip their
Every time. Yeah.
Yeah, that and I couldn't sometimes reach high enough to block the shot, so I'd put a hand over their eyes. But just little tricks like that. Yeah, you were a master of
You're
defense.
saying I was a dirty player?
Actually, Scott was really good on D.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Steve was the lockdown D.
Steve was our, definitely.
Yeah.
Steve and Perry would,
Yep.
they, yeah.
Well, it was a strategy, right? Coach Godfrey had the strategy. Scott could do it. What he wanted to do is kind of save Scott for offense. He wanted me to take the best guard to guard. He wanted Perry to take the best forward and shut him down. Or if we could shut down, because usually most teams had two good players, really solid players, and if we could shut them down and we could score over 60 points, we could win, right? So basically, that's kind of, I thought it was kind of, we just played our role.
If you only scored 30 points, you would win.
There you go.
I can honestly tell you that the two toughest defensive players I ever played against were on my team. High school was Steve Marshall, and at BYU it was a kid named Steve Craig. He's married to Marie Osmond. Steve Craig, one of the greatest athletes I've ever played
Oh,
against.
yeah.
No,
And he was jumping at the
He
gym.
can jump as high as he wanted to. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that guy I had to go against, and both of them made me much better players. I mean, Steve drove me crazy.
Well,
He was tough. He was tough, and I never saw anything like you said. I never saw anything like that in a game because Steve was the best defensive player.
I'll tell a story about that
Okay.
after Sim, about Steve Craig.
Yeah.
Because, well, I'll tell you right now, maybe. Steve Craig, I went and watched you. I went and watched BYU, not you. I was watching BYU. And I really wanted to watch Steve Craig. Okay? And I watched him, and his quickness is amazing. And I thought you were a 4-year starter, and I couldn't see you going back to anybody. And I know at Utah you were a starter, and that was one thing I had. And Craig was an amazing guy. You know, I mean, Craig Christensen played down there too. He was great at high, but he was nothing compared to Steve Craig. I know that, Scott. And possibly had more physical ability than you did.
Possibly.
Awful.
He had a lot more ability than I had.
But I want to hear him.
Yeah.
I wait, it's Burke's turn. We
I
got to
just
go
want
to
to add
Burke.
one thing, because Perry, is not here. We would often play that 1-3-1 defense, right? We had Perry on the
sometimes.
baseline.
Yeah.
And Perry would be going from side to side, so fast, so
Yeah.
quick. And I think as far as defense goes, Perry, definitely amazing.
Yeah.
Just-
Spence. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I say, we
Yes.
can't, Perry Bradford
Absolutely.
was significant and a dear friend, and he's gone. But, I mean, I don't think without any of us, it would have happened. But
Yeah.
Perry was the enforcer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he had our back. And I, love that guy, miss him, and, of course, we wish he was here, so.
So my name's Spence Christensen, and I always considered myself the weak link on the team. These guys carried me. They literally
Hey,
did.
we would have never won it without
Not a
Spence.
chance. Not a
Trust me.
chance, Spence.
Well, first of all, I was afraid of most things in life. I mean, I've always been just emotionally just hanging in there. And I would never have been able to do what we did without you guys. I think, Coach, Scott, you came over and picked me up every day for about a year in your yellow Nova. And you had a job as a lifeguard, I think, over at the condos, did you? And then
Yeah.
for the money from that, you paid for your.
And mowed the lawns and swept the carports and everything else.
You
The
paid for
lifeguard
your
maybe
yellow
half
nova.
an hour.
Yeah, oh, okay. Well, that sounded better. I thought.
Yeah, I like to dwell on that one.
And so much encouragement from you guys over the years that we played. And I like to brag to my kids, you know, build myself up in their eyes. And one of the things I could tell them was we practiced every day except for Sundays for 3 or 4 years straight. I mean, I know we practiced on Thanksgiving, and I have an inkling somewhere in there we practiced on Christmas Day. I forgot about how cold it was in the gym. Remember that old West High gym, you could see your breath. And,
Yeah.
yeah, but this commitment to something, and it's fantastic.
Spence, you remember the first time I met you? Your mom was with you,
Okay.
and I can see your bro. In fact, we had to talk, and you grew a quarter of an inch. So,
I think I grew 6 inches.
do you remember you had those big sad eyes, and you didn't like what I looked like? I look like I am now, and he looked at that and he said, I don't know if I want to go through 3 years of this. I know that.
Yes, it was traumatic for me.
Yeah.
But
That's why you always picked him up and made sure he got there.
best experiences
And
ever.
we all knew we needed Spence.
Absolutely.
We needed
Oh, yeah.
Spence.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me just share a thought about Perry. He was so impressive to me because, for one thing, he was by far the strongest of us. At least he sure looked like it. And he would encourage us, and we got in those huddles, you know, and things looked bleak or we were discouraged or tired. Keep going, just keep going. You can do it. And it was like, I don't know if I ever remembered him getting tired. And the thing I remembered about Perry was it was like he was more than willing to throw his body at whatever the challenge was and kind of athletically sacrifice himself for whatever the game required. And maybe that's just my perspective on it. I know, there's give and take in there, but I miss Perry too.
I'll say something on that too. With Perry, I knew Perry really well because I played football with him too. And he was a winner. He wanted to win. And he would do just about anything legally
Or
or
otherwise. Or
not,
illegally.
to win. And that was, I think one of the things that happened, there's a lot of people I think that sometimes got intimidated by Coach Godfrey. They're intimidated. But I know 3 people that weren't, and that was me and Perry and Scott. Because our will to win was greater than whatever Godfrey was saying to us. I mean, he was talking earlier today that I would take too long at the free throw line, right? I don't know why I had to focus so long, but it's horrible.
You got a 10-second
I got a
call.
10-second
I've never
call.
heard of it.
But he was saying, I could yell at you, but you wouldn't even hear me. Nothing would even come out. You wouldn't even listen or wouldn't hear me. But I think that with Perry, and I saw him in the huddle, he'd come back and say, I can take this guy, I can take this guy. Run this play, right? I mean, this is Perry. And in basketball, it didn't matter what Godfrey said. He still shoots some 40-footer out there, and Godfrey's going, Bradford, right? And sometimes it'd go in, Okay.
Bradford, great shot.
Great shot.
Not sometime, that championship game had 19 points.
Yeah.
In the last quarter, last half.
Yeah, so let me just also
He's
make
a
it,
winner.
Because they covered you. But also remember the Bonneville game, we were playing, was it Ogden that
Ogden.
chased you? Ogden had chased you.
That's one of my
Watson
funnest games of
chased
the whole year.
Yeah, they chased him and that freed up Marshall.
But they played a
Marshall
Watson
loved it.
chaser on Scott.
Marshall
Yeah.
loved it. He
I
hoped
was
they
loving
chased
live. I
him.
scored over 30 points that game. I'm going, hey, this is fun. Maybe we ought to
Yeah.
do
All
this
the
more
pressure's
often.
on. Okay, one thing I want you to know about Perry. First of all, I knew him inside out. And when that thing happened, I know you guys thought I'm a nut, but I wanted it clear to anybody in Spanish Fork that you don't come to West and push us around. because he's close to Spanish folk, as we were, you know, a big kid. And when he was picking on some of you, Perry just told him to cut it out. And I, you know, I says, hey, now don't start a fight in here, because we don't break them up. I told him like that. Oh, good, okay. And you guys thought, oh, kids, what's he done? You know? But it only took, I would say, less than 30 seconds. And that kid was begging me to pull him off. We had that kid down, banged his head, and I I just let it go. I said, I won't stop until you say I quit. And he said, I quit. Okay, now that's one job. Now I go in there and try to take Perry off him. Are you kidding me? I took him off like that. He came and bam, hit me right in the thing right there, rocked me a little bit.
I didn't know that part.
What's that?
I didn't know that part.
Oh yeah. And he started walking out. I said, now don't get your clothes, don't get anything. Just get out of here, I want to see him now. And that was it. And that went around the state.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because that's what I wanted.
And the guy was bigger and older than
Oh,
Perry.
bigger. Oh, he picked on everybody's snow. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not
So yeah,
anymore.
we talked a lot about Perry. Just to make it clear, Perry passed away in 2012, right? And Scott actually got up and talked quite a bit at Perry's funeral. And
Can I tell
We
another
sat
Perry
with
story?
you. We
yeah,
sat with you.
that's right.
Perry was also really playful, and he had a funny side, and one of the things he could do is whistle really loud. And so when we would be in practicing, there would be other student groups and teams in the gym. The girls would be over on one side, etc. So we were sometimes in a co-ed environment, and Perry would sneak up behind me. He did this 3 or 4 times. Whistle, well, let's see. No, the first thing he'd do is grab my jersey from behind, pull it up over my head, and then grab my shorts, yank them down to the ground, and then whistle. And there you are standing, blowing in the breeze, when all the girls are coming around to look at
Yeah.
you.
Well, that wasn't as bad.
So yeah, we're going to point out a couple of other players that weren't here. We
Okay.
mentioned them, but we've got Ruben Soto, who just couldn't make it today. Dig Nicholson, who played forward for us,
He's in Maui.
he's in Maui, so he couldn't make it here. We've got Mark Stanley, who also passed away. I don't know when Mark passed away.
It's
He
a few years.
come as a substitute forward, I guess sometimes center if need be.
Well, it's hard to call him a substitute, because he could leap.
He
Oh,
could
yeah.
jump so high.
Yeah.
I was
He's,
jealous of
Yep.
that.
He's probably one of our best 5, but I played Dave Nicholson because it worked better
Yep.
to bring him off the bench. In fact, when we played Highland, they couldn't get a shot off because the big guy here and Mark was shoving it down their throat. You remember the first quarter, we're doing the layup drill with that Mickey Mouse press. It wasn't when you're young, it didn't seem like it now when you're older. When you got mature, that was just pass, layup, pass, layup.
Hey, so getting back to the shorts pulling story that Spence was saying, that you know something about Ruben getting involved in this, right?
Scott, tell me about Ruben. Grow up, Soto. Is that a quote?
Well, last night I heard the whole story. So,
Oh no, I told him not to tell you
Oh,
He told
until here.
no.
I wanted to reveal it to
Ruben,
you here.
we're at the game last night, and he goes, Scott, I need to apologize. I said, for what? I go, it's been 40-some years. I need to
Okay,
apologize.
tell it from the beginning. So, Coach, I want you to tell your version of it. Then, Scott, you tell your version of it at the time, and then Scott, you tell what Ruben told you.
Well, basically what happened was we were doing layups in practice, but the girls were on one side,
The pep club.
the pep club,
gymnastics.
Yes.
and I think the wrestlers were on the other side. and,
No, we had that. We're circled up.
Anyway, so I went in to do a layup, and I'm just going to jump, and Ruben comes behind me and just yanks my shorts down. And I'm like, I was a pretty shy kid. I didn't talk much. I couldn't ask a girl out on a date, okay? I mean, even in college, I had to get lined up.
Let alone flash yourself.
Let alone flash myself. I was devastated. Like, Ruben, grow up. And I kind of, I remember it happening. I couldn't remember that it was Ruben.
That
who did
might
it.
be one.
Okay.
But the other one was when we were circled up and had all the gymnast girls over there like that. and he came around and pulled those down, you said, Reuben, grow up.
Now, we need to make it clear for the listening audience, you had a jock strap on. Yeah, right? You weren't totally bare.
That's right.
Okay.
So anyway,
You
Reuben
come
last,
back to the
Reuben
back.
last night comes up to me and he says, I need to apologize. He said, before Perry Bradford died, we were playing golf or went to St. George, we went to eat, and Reuben said, hey, let me pay for lunch. And Perry said, Reuben, I need to tell you something. I gotta get something right. And he said, remember when you pulled down Reno's shorts? He said, you did it because I told you he threw the ice on you.
When he was in the
When
shower.
he was in the shower. And Perry said, it wasn't Reno at all, it was me. And so that's why Reuben said, I'm so sorry I did it, because I thought you threw ice in the shower. I'm like, I didn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Reuben told me the whole story. So from beginning to end, Reuben's in a hot shower. Somebody throws ice on him when he has his face covered with
Yeah,
soap.
right.
And Perry comes by and he goes, God, did you see what? That was Scott that came by and threw that on you. So Reuben says, I'll get back at him. So he does that. Perry, of course, he must be snickering the whole time inside. And that lasted for 40 years before Perry told him, I guess.
I didn't accept Reuben's apology. I hit him right in the face. No, I just said, I had no idea that's what happened. All I knew was I was ticked at you.
Well, Reuben came to be one of my favorite kids. Yeah, I wanted to talk to him. You know, there's a couple players. Pete Brown's another one, but I wanted to talk to Reuben, and I had my wife call. I don't do much calling because I can't hear. I got these things in, and can't hear too well. But anyway, she called up Reuben and said, Reuben, Coach Clark would like to see you and talk to you. And he says, well, tomorrow afternoon? Yeah, okay. So tomorrow afternoon he came, we spent 3 hours. Because there's a lot of things we talked about, more than basketball. And I said, let's do this a little bit more. Well, Coach, I live in Tucson. So he flew up.
Yeah.
And that's so
Yeah.
and he did. He's kid. I really have thoughts about not keeping him because I knew him. I knew what happened. I knew he was one with the God Lyman still. You know, before that's when Lyman was a senior. You know, I told everybody, don't drink, don't touch this stuff, or I won't have it. And I walk into the gym and there's Reuben with Lyman, and Lyman is drunk. And you know, I started thinking, now wait a minute, we have no chance on that. I can do other things to punish him, and I'm going to keep him there. But I will make sure that he pays for this stuff. But so I did, and then it was that time that I quit writing rules. You guys are adults. You're smart. I call you boys, but you're adults. And I quit putting those rules down. I said, do what you're supposed to do. Everybody does, you know. Now, Al Nakagami, you guys remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Al, you know, on New Year's, and we did practice. You guys, I was soft on you guys compared to them. I was. I mean, they'd snow.
We don't think you were soft on it.
Yeah.
They,
If that's soft,
well, they'd walk knee deep into snow. Even Freak couldn't drive out. None of them. They had to get to the gym. I said, I don't care. You get there on time. And you know, when you do that, you know you're committed. You know, even when I'm talking with Steve about this, when I'd say something and, I'll try. I don't like that word. I know you're gonna try. I want it done. And so now that brings me to the Perry, the last thing I'll say about it. See, mentally, somehow, I didn't think anybody could beat us. But when you're down by 4 points, with 14 seconds to go, and a pretty good foul shooter foul line, I guess we're down 3, and he made a foul shot.
Made
It made the front end, yeah.
And then, however it happened, the ball goes zip.
We thank him
zip.
for missing that second.
Yes.
He missed it badly, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, down there, and Scott, even though if they had a 3, I'm glad they didn't have a 3. You might have thought of shooting at it, but I don't think you would have. You know what you're doing. Because one basket
We
didn't
didn't know what a 3-pointer was, we didn't have
I
it.
know.
That's right.
But you
It
drop.
was only in the
do
ADA at that time, right?
Exactly.
Now, being in all honesty, I got you out because I didn't want your hands on that ball, big guy. I just didn't. I mean, that's being a.
Well,
as
he
a
had 4
coach,
fouls on
I
him.
wanted
Yeah.
somebody small out there, with quickness, but they're not going to jump up because you'd have probably got it and tapped or whatever, and you may have tapped it in.
You know, what's interesting is the years
Yeah.
have gone by. In my mind, I am still in the game, and I'm right where I was, and I'm seeing the ball come this way to Scott. But then when I saw the video the other day, they took me out. What?
But at any rate, that's how that
Well,
happened.
the substitution, I mean, comparable players, right? A 5'10" guard versus 7 foot.
Well, we didn't
So it was
have
the
a,
right
we didn't have a
thing.
timeout either.
No, we had.
So we had to kind of say,
timeout.
okay, and I remember we kind of huddled really quick and
Well,
said, hey, box them out.
And you guys.
Just
were
don't let
thinking-
them in the lane, we're gonna
Yeah.
try to.
You were directing the whole thing, I remember that.
Yeah.
But I didn't really think it was gonna work.
Well, actually,
on the-
so
on the-
now that we're on this, I was hoping to get to this later, but this is fine that we're talking about it now. Whose original idea was that, for that to be the strategy, to bounce it off the front of the rim?
Well, it wasn't mine because I didn't have a timeout.
No, I think it was.
But I kind of
Okay,
thought.
it was- Yeah,
I
I just
kinda
thought,
thought-
this is the only thing we can do.
Yeah,
That's
what,
the only
what,
thing
what
you can
options
do.
are there, right?
And you have to hit the
Well-
rim, you have to remember, you gotta hit the rim, if you just hit the
Well,
backboard.
I
it's not
couldn't
their
go out there
ball,
and say,
so you gotta
hit the rim, hit the rim, hit the rim.
Well,
knew-
I mean, yeah, there's one other play. You make the shot, you foul them immediately when they bring the ball in play. So there are a couple of other strategies as well. But and so if you, Scott, if you had the original idea, how did you know about it? Because you told me what to do. You said Scott's going to bounce this off the front of the rim.
I don't
Here's your
know.
job. You
I
you
just
box
knew
down
it.
hard.
I knew it.
And you
Mental
told me-
telepathy between all of us.
I keep saying, hey, bounce it off the rim, Scott. I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I know, yeah.
But I
But
knew.
you did okay. So you told me box your guy down hard.
Yeah,
If the ball comes back to you, you probably don't have time to pass it. So put it back up.
yeah.
And so I'm walking in there and I'm saying, well, I'm coming in cold. And I know what my job is. If the ball comes to me, I know I need to put it back up. But God, I hope it goes back to Scott.
I know. So did I.
Yeah.
But anyway, on that timeout, the last timeout, I
Yep.
thought I didn't think, at that time was the only time I thought we might get beat. The timeout, I said, now listen, I told you guys, you've had a great season. You remember that? You've had a great season. Don't let this ball game bother you. And you're walking away, and Perry came back to me, we're gonna win the game. He did.
I remember.
He pointed, did you hear,
Yeah, I did.
what's that? We're gonna win the game. Okay.
Okay.
And so, Scott, how confident were you in the play you were just about to make? Because if you go by the laws of physics, you've got this big round sphere. You've got this rim that's rounded.
And they had to hit it the right spot. in the
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Precise.
it's rounded this way. So you have to hit right around the front edge, right basically in the middle of the rim, with just enough force so that the ball bounces back. So what were you thinking at that time?
Like, we gotta try this. Well, I need to back up a little bit. When we had that timeout, we're kind of standing there and there's, we're down, or they're on the foul line. He makes his first, they're up by 4. I remember standing there thinking, I blew it. I really didn't play very well that game.
You were cold.
And I thought, I've let my team down and this is so frustrating. We're the 4A champs. And this is gonna take a little bit away from our state championship because we're supposed to be the best. And I actually remember just having guilt feelings before that. And I just thought, I played so bad. And it was so frustrating. And then, he misses it. I see him, holy cow, and Perry throws it, Dave Nicholson gets it, throws it to Perry throws it in. I gotta be fouled. I gotta go down and try to shoot this thing and get fouled. And like when they fouled, I was like, holy cow.
That's
And I went
pretty
in,
much what you did. You did this.
I was like, I can't believe it. And then, so I just thought, okay, we gotta do this. And I thought, I gotta hit this thing. So we talked, okay, we're gonna do this. So when I shot it, I could tell it was a little left.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
gonna veer a little bit off to the left.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh, looks like, man, I think it's gonna come back, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so it came back, and it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
And the shot, and it wasn't a perfect shot, by the way, it was a little to the right, I remember, but it went in. If you ever look at it, you'll see it's a little to the right,
yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow, it went in.
Well, Tom, to
You
your
know?
point though, I think we've all tried doing that since then, right? It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw 100 tries and it won't be as good as that.
Right, being married, my wife hadn't seen it, I didn't, you know, so one day I showed it to her, or, no, Bill Marcroft did.
Oh,
Bill
he,
Marcroft.
Marcroft, my God, he thought, that's a coach of the year. What a decision. How'd you do that?
Yeah.
Well, it's just tremendous
Yeah,
thinking.
he actually grabbed me, it was.
I just strategized right
Oh,
there at the last
God.
moment.
Bill
Mental
Marcroft was a
telepathy.
news.
It's like-
Yes, Bill Marcroft was the newscaster on KUTV Channel 2 in Salt Lake, right? And that
Yeah,
game was
correct.
broadcast throughout the state of Utah and to other
And he
states,
loves
right?
West Tide, by the way.
It was
Okay.
over like 7 states.
7 states?
That's
Wow.
what he told me.
Okay.
He said it was over
The
7
broadcast.
states, for some reason. It
The
was
broadcast
it was
reached
in
7
other
states?
It was all over. I got phone calls from Idaho and Wyoming.
Okay,
of kids
so
that
probably
saw it.
Montana, New Mexico,
Well,
Arizona?
I never got one, but they saw it.
Okay,
Yeah, it was in the holy, that was big.
yeah,
It was in the whole, Nevada,
yeah,
got it. And, we were ranked, now, you know, they have Four Corners area,
yes.
where
The
the
four
four
corner
states
states,
meet.
yeah.
We were ranked number 1 in the Four Corner now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, now Denver has some very fine basketball players. And, they have good teams, so does Phoenix. But we were, and Las Vegas, they do, but we were ranked number 1. Mark Croft told me that, I says, that doesn't help when I know that our big man's got a broken leg.
Yeah.
You know. But,
So Scott, you were talking about your wife Tammy?
Yeah, so she made me go try to do it.
Okay.
You know, and
A shot.
I think I'm a senior at BYU, and we go in there, and I'm trying to do it, she goes, you were lucky. I said, I know, I can't believe it all worked. It is kind of a hard thing to do. I've seen others, you know.
Well,
but
okay.
it was
And
just-
one other
It
thing,
was just I think of a string of fortunate events. I mean, he misses the second foul shot, and how it all works, it happens fast, you know.
But the way you scored drawing the foul, that was ingenious also. The backdoor.
Oh, yeah, you could have shot any time, but you had to go to the basket to get a foul.
Yeah.
And the guy from Scotland, whoever did,
You jumped
It was
up
dumb.
and kind of back into him, so he had to draw the foul, it was perfect.
yeah.
well, there were several magical moments, so, and then just some smart decisions. So they take the ball in bounds with 16 seconds to play. By the way, I've watched this probably 20 times now in the course of the work that I've been doing on the videos. Scott fouls a guy with 2 seconds off the clock. So that now it's the 14 seconds. Guy at the line, 1-and-1. He makes the first one. Second one, not does it just miss, but it actually goes off of the hands of their guy who was closest to the backboard on the left side of the key. Literally, it's right here in his hands. It bounces off into Nicholson's hands. So that's one magical moment. And then the second is Scott coming down, making the decision, and getting the foul, the 2-and-1 right there. The third was Scott banking it off the rim at an almost perfect location, and then the fourth was putting that shot in. I mean, just magical.
You're
You know what I don't remember?
What?
Overtime. I thought, we're gonna win that.
Yeah.
I was really confident,
Well-
but I don't even know what happened in overtime.
Well, it was, there's one thing that really helped him to help us all. Hunger fouled out.
Yes,
Dean Hunter was a
Yep.
great player.
he was
Yeah,
good,
he was.
really good.
He's a very good player.
Burke, I missed something you said.
Well, if you watch the video right after everything happened, I guess talking to you, Starkey was like jabbing soda all game and.
Yeah, but that wasn't a magical moment. It was a funny moment. Yeah.
Oh, well, for me, it's pretty cool though, where at the end, Soto runs up to him and just gets in his face, you know, and just he's jumping up and down and say, you know, it's just.
Well, he just came up and pointed his finger in his face. And so, what do you guys remember that?
I remember it very much, but I always wondered what he said. So
Did he tell you?
No, but
Okay.
he told me.
Yeah. So we all thought he went up and was badgering the guy and bad mouthing him and swearing at him. He said he just went up to the guy and said 3 words. What did he say? You are done. That was it. You are done.
Soto said that?
Yes.
But the way
The one
you
that-
say
You'll
it-
see it on the.
You'll see it on the video.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Scott, there's one other story that Tammy mentioned, your wife Tammy, that many, many years later, she's in the Provo area, she goes in the store, she's writing a check, they see the name Runya on the check.
For some reason, and anything that's gone on, that thing just hangs out there. And that's why I said I can't believe that it was shown in different states.
Yeah.
Because I've had different people approach me, but she would say, "Hey, you're Scott Reed, he's the one that banked it off the rim," you know, it's like you're his
Yeah.
wife, and things like that, and I was like, where does this come from, you know?
Well, it's in the archives of Channel 2.
Yeah.
They've
Anyway,
got it.
but it was,
That's,
it was just a lucky thing.
Well,
it's
Scott, I'll
a-
tell you
it's a
another
big deal.
related story. So Coach had requested to have Tom Wharton, the former, well, he's still a writer with the Salt Lake Tribune, come to the event last night, and unfortunately, he's had some injury and surgery
Right.
situation, so he couldn't make it. But Coach and Corinne were able to get me in touch with Tom to invite him, and the first thing he said is, "God, I remember that time when Runya put in that shot, that crazy thing at the end of that Tournament of Champions game." So everybody still remembers it.
But the main thing Tom talked about is Rich Goff. Now, Rich, you know, when you're a coach, sometimes when you don't play players, they remember it all their life. And Rich felt like he could do it. And he really, you guys don't know him, but he really worked hard.
He was one of my brother.
Rich Goff,
I remember.
he's a kid, I thought, you know, honestly, like Mannequin, he just didn't have this kind of stuff, but he wanted to play so bad. And this is exactly how I'm gonna say it, because of what happened. And, you know, I wanna cut kids by the time they're junior, because if they're junior going to senior year and they've tried hard and they're behaved, all that, I'm not cutting a senior. I like seniors. In fact, I've kept
In
six.
fact, you are one now.
We all
Well,
are.
I'm a senior.
Yeah, granted.
I'm a senior plus.
Okay.
I've kept 6 seniors that never played their junior year or sophomore. Because I don't believe in building, that's for brick masons and carpenters in high school. And I believe doing that, otherwise we'd have Nicholson. "Oh, you didn't play for me last year." Now, I saw him, I knew what he could do, and I knew what he couldn't do. In fact, I knew what he couldn't do more than what he could do. But, I liked him like that. But anyway, Goff worked so hard, and I put the list up. You know, I hate to face kids, but, you know, do it early in the morning, because I'm in teaching math, I'm not out there in the PE place. And I put all the names down, then I'll race over and put Goff's up last. And then, happened again. And I thought, what am I doing? You know? And finally, honey, I think it's 3 times, wasn't it? About 3 times. I had to leave early to change the thing. And I ran you so hard, and Goff was pretty neat. Now this is for you guys. I ran him so hard at everybody, and some people were throwing up and all this stuff. But what I wanted to do, because Goff was a little sore, I wanted him to quit. I didn't want to cut him. But I faced him up, and I knew exactly. Now, you can say what you want about prayers. I said, "Goff, you've been praying about this thing. I got it. Now I'm going to keep you, but I'm not going to play you very much." And he nodded his head. Okay, well, he kept working. And all of a sudden, the Highland game, I get confused on some of the Highland games because they're all close. And this one was really close. And let's see. This is when Freed was a senior. And David Grant, the only one 6'4", fouled out. And so I had my choice. I had Bob Lyman or Rich Goff. Now Bob was a better player. Rich Goff worked harder, and I thought I'd rather stay with the seniors. and I took the chance on him. And I put him in, and Lyman almost changed schools because of that. But that's the seniors, you know. And he goes in there, and I said, "Now, Goff, do not handle the ball. Kick it right out. Be good, because they're going to try to foul you. You know, kick it out." And he got the ball. Guy's wide open. Nobody's guarding him. So he shoots, missed by 3-4 feet. You know. So the next time they come down, there's no time. I can't remember, honestly. I think we're by maybe 1, and we may have been tied. I'm not sure on that. I'm getting fuzzy, but on this. But Maxwell, the 5 guys went and fouled him. And my God, he come out and he was whiter than that door. Oh, it was white. Now you have Dean Andreessen. You guys know him. What an athlete. What a great kid. He's the only guy that stand on the foul line, tie his shoes, not bend over. We had all these guys. And I told Coach Thomas, who's a great guy. You guys know he has Alzheimer's. But we grew up together. What a great guy. But anyway, we came over there and says, "God, what do I tell everybody?" And Andreessen, I think this is when he started singing "Jesus Wants Me for Something," and that was right in the middle. I mean, we're down there, and here's all this. And honey, I think you were back. Did you hear the song? I don't know if she did or didn't.
She did. Yes.
But anyway, we're back there, and Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. Well, that's the best thing I could have told him, because everybody's laughing, even Goff. And he goes out there and he hits 2 foul shots. Each foul shot hit every part of that rim, all the way down. But it just went, and something made it go through. Now Judkins, I think, was playing at that time.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeff and the Hogan
Yeah.
twins.
Yeah.
Triplets, I
Hogan's
think.
triplets,
Yeah.
Anyway, anyway, he made both of them. And Ward knew there was something different there. And so he got us both down there and started talking to us. By the time we were finished, all of us were crying.
So I want you to tell another story that involves Scott when he was a sophomore, because you told me this story. That in your genius nature, you called a play. You set up a play for. So go ahead and take it from there.
Okay, Scott. I mean, his sophomore, and I just didn't think he was. I just thought, you know, he's running the team.
Pretty mature, yeah.
And so I called play, and God, being the great coach I was, I knew this was going to work. And I drew that out, and I said, "Now run this play." And he goes out there, and, you know, I don't know what happened. I said, "Run you. Why don't you run the play?" He said, "I did, coach, it didn't work." And I said, "Why in the hell did you run it for?"
It didn't work, so why'd you run it?
That's very vivid. Another one was when, and these guys know, when we're playing South, and the guy that was so scared about this was a guy named George Sewell. They just canned him. And they got another guy coaching South, and he wanted South to get beat by us so bad. He's still a faculty member of South, shooting for West. He couldn't stand this guy winning, and he finally left because we were getting beat. But it was really close, and I don't know if it was tied or we were down. But I wanted to call a timeout, and I think as you waved me off, Marshall, one of you did, waved me off, said, "No, we got it." And I thought, well, I'll do it. Okay, screen, pop, shot, game. That's it. If I'd have called a timeout, being the genius I am, I'd have let that thing down, and it'd been perfect, and we'd have lost. But we just did what you did, and that I know it's overtime. It's so fun to me.
Yeah.
We're in Bear River when you guys weren't there again, and God, I hate to get beat by Bear River. They almost beat us first game, and I still like it. I had trouble with Bear River because the last time I played basketball out there, I got in a fight with some kid in a game, and I never liked them. But we were down there, and they always had a lead on us. and I thought, God, what is this? I got Fried, Rooney, Erickson, Bardot. How am I doing this? And I call it half court, full court, you know, all those coaching moves. And finally, I said, Ed, I'm just going to tell them to go at it. And I called timeout, and I said, look, we're not getting the ball back. And I'll tell you what, Andreessen, you guys go out there and get the ball back. Okay, I don't care how you do it. Just get back. And we did. We won. You know, so that's, you can go over coach. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to move things along a little bit. I want to talk about thoughts from the Skyline game and the 4A championship game. Spence, what kind of thoughts did you have going into that game and through the game? And have you seen the video of that whole game?
I haven't.
Okay, so you at the end of that game, Scott dished you a ball, you went up for a layup, got fouled, and beautiful layup, sink the free throw. Short time later, Scott passes you the ball, you hit about a 13-footer.
And I said, don't shoot that. Nice shot.
Yeah.
Don't shoot, nice
I
shot.
went on a scoring spree right at the end there. I
Yeah.
made like 11 points.
Yes.
I was so psyched out through that game. I was like out of my mind. Like here was reality, and I was somewhere over here. Not only was I fatigued, but just the intensity of the whole thing and everybody screaming. I remember coming up on halftime in that game. I don't think I had scored the whole game, and we were running down the court.
In fact, you hadn't scored. You didn't score the first 3 quarters, and you scored your 11
Yeah.
points in the 4th quarter.
And
Yeah.
Scott was behind me, I think, or maybe it was Steve, and they shot it. And I just remember I was feeling so tired. I thought, whether this ball goes in or not, I'm running off the court for halftime because it was like 2 seconds left. It went through, and but somehow right at the end there, I don't know, something flipped, and I got my bearings again. Yeah.
Yes.
And just
You look smooth. I mean, even that jump shot, that was a pure jump shot that you hit there.
I don't know what happened. I wish I could claim some kind of great insight, but I just felt more relaxed, and you guys were always so accommodating. Coach, you told me early on, basically if I got the ball and I was within like 8 feet, I had a duty to God and country to shoot. You know, that I would probably have as close a shot as anybody, so, and you guys were always so accommodating because, you know, I missed them like crazy, but
Well, Spence,
something about that, it just came together.
you honestly didn't know how good you really were.
Yeah, well,
You know,
that's
you were.
And that injury, it was just too bad.
Like I
that
said,
injury.
Well, but I want to go back to when he was healthy, because when I watched those games, not only did you have some smooth shooting, you ran pretty smoothly. You had a long stride. And I'm sitting here thinking, if we had the rules back then that they have today for the Euro step and lack of calling traveling and allowing you to palm the ball, you probably could have made a layup starting from half court.
I go berserk when I
Because you
watch
could've
these
taken your 3 or 4
games today because I'm going, that's traveling!
Yeah.
And they're going, yeah, that's the rules from 30 years ago, but yeah.
So Burke, Skyline game, you come in and you're guarding Danny Brains, who ends up becoming an NBA player, an all-star player in the NBA.
He was
And
great.
did you recognize Dan? I mean, he was a sophomore
Well,
at that
everyone
time.
knew Danny Reigns, of course, even though as
Well, he was a
sophomore,
great-
but
yeah, he was a great
we
talent,
got
but he
the
was a
team out,
sophomore.
Yeah.
Who knew what he was going to become? So what were
But
you
I was
thinking at the
even
time?
lucky to be in there because, you got in foul trouble, Mark got in foul trouble, and so yeah, I was just happy to be in there. And you would think I'd been scared, but you always had me guard him. Spence, I had plenty of practice with the best, So I don't know. I was just excited to be there, and
Well, you played well.
well, I mean, got my 1 rebound, and I was happy. But to box him out and just I don't know, just to be in that arena with him like that with all you guys, it was just really special. Yeah.
Backing off from the game a little bit, just talking about practice. So you conveyed to me something about you guarding Spence in practice all the time, and
In fact, I apologized last night to Spence.
did
for
you?
this.
Okay. So tell everybody else the
Well,
situation.
all the
You were
years,
told to
you
do
and
what?
Al, of course, worked at the big
Al
time
Nakagama,
practice when
yeah.
guards break off. But you guys always got mad at me for not being physical enough as Spence. And you would threaten to pull me out if I didn't, you know, because I was a starter my last year, and you would still
You
threaten to
can
pull me
body
out.
up on him.
Body up more on him in practice.
Yeah.
And you know, we spend a lot of time off the court together, you know, with
Yeah.
choir or whatever. And I could tell,
Couple of choir boys.
I could tell there was something awkward between us because of that. So, I don't know. So I just I apologize.
There's a lot of
You make me do it,
apologies
Spence.
going on.
I haven't thought of that in 45
Is there something I
years.
should apologize
So-
for that I don't remember?
I've always
Because
felt
there are
bad
a lot
about-
of things I don't remember.
Yeah. But you know, though, being physical like you made me do, it helped me be a much better player. You know, it helped you probably
Helped me a
also.
lot.
Didn't help our friendship.
So Steve, you were injured going into that game, but your thoughts, and both before the game and during the game, after the game?
Well, we'd already played Skyline twice, right?
Uh-huh.
So they were a good team. They had good players. And I loved to play against the quarterback of the other school.
Okay.
So Jeff Burton was the
Oh,
quarterback
right. I didn't know that. Yeah.
of Skyline, right? And so I
Steve
loved
was
to
our,
play against him.
our quarterback.
All-state
That's right.
quarterback.
Steve was our
Steve
Anyway.
starting quarterback his junior and senior years, was all-state and phenomenal talent.
But
Yeah.
to play against those guys, I wanted to shut them down so bad,
Yeah.
right? And it just motivated me
Uh-huh.
during the season. And but they had enough players that everybody had to play hard to beat them. I mean, nobody could take a break against those guys. And I wanted to, and we played hard the first two times we played them, and we played well. But
You
I
remember-
wanted to play so bad. I'm sorry.
Remember the one when we were playing at West? We're just gonna front Brains, and I dropped you off. Burton was out there. I said, he's gonna shoot, he's gonna make one or two. I don't care. I don't want Brains to have the ball inside.
Yeah.
So you had to do both. You had to drop down, and then you had to come back out and guard him. And they were counting on Fishhook and Brains, you know.
But I had
that
some
was
of
a
those
heck of a
techniques
job.
that Scott had too.
Yeah.
The little poke in the stomach,
Yeah.
and whatever, you know. I was going back and forth, but anyway, for that game, from my perspective, what I liked about Coach Godfrey is
Yeah,
he let me play.
Yeah.
I was worried about playing, and I'm going, man, we worked so hard to get here, and I'm like, I'm dying, my leg's killing me, and I'm like, he lets me play.
Yeah.
Right, so I was more happy just to play, and I was more cheering than I was anything. I mean,
Hey, I got on Jay Ludwig. You know, I had him down the bench. Jay played for South when I played for West. He was the guy that worked with you.
Therapist.
I said, Jay, do a better job. You know, keep going, keep doing it. And he's a great guy. He's a
so
great guy.
I was just happy to be part of the whole
Yeah.
thing. Right, I didn't feel like I contributed as well as I should have been able to, but everybody else I thought played so well, and
I thought on the
I
field
was just
he was
happy
pretty good.
to be there.
You know.
Yeah, it was a great team
I
effort,
didn't
but
think that
but of
you-
course, Scott, you just had a phenomenal game. I think you ended up with 33-34, something like 23 in the first half. What were your thoughts going in and throughout the game?
Well, just to get to the championship game, I just thought, you can't lose, we're not gonna lose.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, things went well, and it was a pretty happy day. I remember my brother was in Holland on a mission. Ed, who played. It was his birthday, and I thought, what a great thing if we could win on his birthday. You know? And so we did. But yeah, I mean, it's a complete team effort, and you know, I mean, just to get there. So you know, Steve was hurt in those days, but you don't get there unless you do well in the season and everything else. And I don't know, it's just a great group of guys. And I think back on it a lot. I think, you know, I mean, we weren't quitters. You know, it's like, I mean, Steve and Perry and Tom played football, and these guys were competitive. I went on and got to play more, but I played with a lot of people who really don't have the fight, and they can be a quitter. Like if I went to BYU, I tell you there's three guys I'd want in my foxhole if I was in a war. One would be Jim McMahon, played football with the Chicago Bears. Jim's crazy. I love the guy, but he's crazy.
Yeah.
But if I was in a foxhole, I want Jim McMahon. He would fight to the very end. The other was Danny Ainge. Danny's about as competitive as the guy, and Steve Young. I mean, Steve's one of the guys. He is so afraid to lose. It's unbelievable. It's almost I throw up for 2 days before every
To show you
49er game, and then he'd go out and play. You know, and but that was this team. I don't think you realize, or I didn't realize until I left, that there were some guys that honestly were quitters. I mean, they're great talents, but you could beat them. And, I think maybe it's probably coach making us tougher than we normally were, but, I mean, Steve was a great
Yeah, you
competitor.
guys showed that in the first game of Ogden someplace. You had a bunch of guys.
But yeah, they weren't quitters. It was amazing.
Can I just add,
Yes.
we have some secret weapons, of course, but your themes about intensity and humor, great topics, by the way. I think that, Coach, your passion and intensity and your hunger for winning, and you really cared for all of his players. All that coaching, we always joke around about how sometimes you might have seemed crazy or unconventional, but I think you were a basketball genius. And it came together in a magical way to create, just amazing.
Did you ever see the vein come up?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's
Oh
that,
yeah.
like a cobra?
Anything's
Yes.
on that thing.
But what I appreciated about that,
I remember that a lot, actually.
And no one knows more than me how much he would yell at us, right?
Yes.
And what I always really appreciate knowing Coach is that knowing that the redder your face got, the more you cared. And I just want you to know, I always felt deeply that you cared so much about me.
Well, I did, on running, I didn't care about anybody. I just ran until I got tired blowing the whistle.
Last night
Well,
was about
that-
Spence. I used to feel so bad for Spence. He's 7 feet tall, and coach is going to time us. You run the foul line and back, and half court and back, next foul, the suicide.
Yeah.
And Spence is just giving it all he could, and just before he goes like, time, didn't
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah.
Gotta run another one. And I'm like, he made it. I looked at the clock. He made it.
Yeah.
And coach, nope, you're gonna run again. I'm like, oh.
So, but you know something I realized that throughout all that, I thought back on that, and initially we were all doing it individually. We us little guys would run as fast as we could, we'd get back. And then, and I know one of Coach's intentions was to make us more of a team. And so at first we were saying, well, Spence didn't get back in time, so everybody's pissed that they have to run again, right? But then over time we started saying, yeah, let's help Spence a little bit. We don't have to, and Spence then upped his pace, and I don't know if that was part of your genius, but I think you made us more team-oriented with that.
And part of your genius was the way you went about it. You would tell us, you might recall this, you'd say, man, great practice. 3 full courts that are really good.
Yes.
And,
Just 3.
Yeah.
three.
One more time.
And then
One more time.
six later.
Yeah.
and we'd be thinking, oh man, piece of cake, we can go home after 3 full courts.
Yeah.
And
That's
then we have to go to the foul line and shoot. If we miss.
Yes.
Yeah, oh,
We
yeah.
have to-
yeah,
which
right.
prepared me at BYU. So they did it to us at BYU. You miss, you had to go to the top of the Marriott Center.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of times at the top of the Marriott Center. Because when you're running your time, you got to come back and hit a 1-and-1. It puts pressure on you, but it also helps you, in a crucial game. Like you have pressure, you're tired, and think, okay, I can do this. I
So
can make
what was the time? Was it 27 seconds that you gave us?
27, 29,
I think it was under 30.
It was always changing, right?
Well, yeah, he'd
He's
start, and
always
then
lying.
once we were tired, he'd give us another second, just
Yeah.
enough so we wouldn't quite make it.
Well,
So why don't we plan to wrap things up here, and let's have some final thoughts.
I
Go.
do the one.
Okay.
I did have a purpose in working with you guys. I knew you were in shape,
Yeah.
but I knew, I was 100% sure if a game went in overtime, we won.
Yes.
That's it. And that's all through the years, even with the
Right.
worst teams I had, we'd win in overtime. And here's the thing, if you guys have never had to do it, but you go to basic training in the military, and you do things, you think, oh, it's over. Then they come to us and say, you haven't even started yet.
Yes.
You know, that bit here, if you, like you, West High, they thought 4 laps were a mile. A guy runs 4 laps and really works hard with 4 laps, and on the 4th one, say, you got 1 more lap. Well, guess what? You got it in yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Don't say you're tired. I don't want to hear it. You got 1 more, and you will not raise your hand and surrender. And you guys didn't. None of you.
Well,
And
last
that's
night
it.
you were saying to Scott, you know, we were the best shape ever because of your
Yep.
antics.
Well,
Spence, you wanna
Yeah.
have some closing remarks?
Well, I wanted to say something to you, Clark, and I think the guys probably feel the same way. But I was mentioning this earlier. At the start of our junior year, you know, you sensed that we had potential to have a really great team, and so you got us around the chalkboard on the south side of the old gym inside the basketball court, and told us some of us would go on and have, you know, other athletic highlights in our life, but for a lot of us, this year could potentially be the peak of our athletic experience in our whole lifetimes, which I don't know, a 16, 17-year-old boy would probably never have that mindset, but you helped us bring that into focus. And then you said something that I've never forgotten, and I've relayed this as I've taught youth over the years, that you said pretty much everything that is really worth having in life is difficult to get. The things that are really valuable are hard to get. And you were bracing us for giving this season everything we had, and it was going to be something really worth having. And it was so true, and I've been able to apply that to a lot of things in my life. And one of the things that it taught me was that came out of that experience knowing that I was capable of accomplishing difficult things, which I think is a really wonderful lesson for any young man or young woman to learn, that they can approach and accomplish something that's really difficult. And I want to thank you for that. And
you guys know why I love all of you.
Well, I know why you love those guys, I don't know why.
Well, here's the thing, even the guys that didn't, not nearly as good as you guys, they worked just as hard, you know, and they played the same kind. We lost a lot, not too many times though. We didn't lose too many times, but guys like that. That's why Otto came all the way from Iowa and said, "Hey, doesn't have to go till night. Come on in." And he's just sitting there. That's one of the biggest, right there. Just amazing.
Yep.
Not Holland, but Sweden. Okay. And that's
Burke,
quite a
any
progress.
some closing remarks?
We have time for stories, you mean, or what?
We're just kind of closing out here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know, we're here to celebrate and acknowledge an amazing life of, service to your players, of course, your family, your community. But yeah, we just, looking at that list of accomplishments on the screen last night, you did a great job with that, by the way, Tom. We're just so proud to be associated with you. Congratulate you for all that you've accomplished, on and out the court. And we're excited to see what's going to happen in the next 10 years you're going to bring to us. So, keep it going.
Well, I just worry about tomorrow. Yeah, I live a day at a time. I've had a lot of close calls, but I have a really nice looking lady that looks after me all the time. Right
Yes,
there.
you do.
And is she
Your
prettier
beautiful
than
wife,
me?
Corinne. Is she prettier than you?
Yes.
Oh, is that even a question?
Well, I thought she was his daughter, so I don't know.
I'll tell you about my daughters, that gal over there.
Yes,
And she
two
put
of
a
them.
lot of work in.
Yes.
And Cynthia's always done it, right there.
Yes.
She lives in Anthem, just north of Phoenix.
Okay.
And, and of course Corinne, she had to go, oh, how'd you guys like to live with me after that? She did, but I'm paying for it when I go to all this place.
Scott, would you like to?
Yeah, just thank you. I mean, you were talking about Coach Godfrey and your family. Thank you for allowing him to spend so much time with us, because He spent a lot of time with us.
Yeah.
And like they said, Thanksgiving or holidays, we're there practicing or whatever.
Sometimes there's a little more time than we wanted him to spend with us.
But yeah, thank you. I mean, the high school experience is a wonderful experience. And it's, I think, a crucial time in our lives where you can get distracted and go off and do other things. But we were busy playing sports and going to school and things. And it was just it was a great time. And for me, just the association with all the players, this is a unique group, and you don't win a state championship unless, I think, you have a unique group of players that really did well together.
Yeah.
You know, and every single person was important, otherwise it doesn't happen. And then of course coach, so I'm just grateful to be part of it, to be honest with you. And I look back on it and I just think, wow, you know, you don't forget your high school days, you know, because it's a wonderful time in life, and really the friends you make. And most of us haven't seen each other much at all for 40 plus years, and it's fun just to reunite. And I want to thank Tom. Tom's been a dear friend, and his dear wife Rose, who's helped out. I know Burke's helped out some too. They both live out in the San Francisco Bay Area, but I just want to thank you for doing this. I think it's incredibly meaningful, and what a nice thing, Coach, to see so many of your players there last night. You know, it was a nice tribute, and I think, Tom, you put it together, so thank you very much. So, anyway, yeah.
Steve?
Once a Panther, always a Panther.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
I've said that a million times in my life. I even know the fight song, and I can't sing. But I sang it to my wife, and she even knows it. She has it memorized. So that's why I say high school's an amazing time.
Steve?
I just want to second what everybody else has said. You know, you think back at these times, and I look at Spencer, and I look at Burke, and look at Scott, and look at you, and you know, we've been in some situations together that everybody doesn't have, right? I mean, I remember Scott, we got him to play football, Little League football, you know, and I wanted him to play everything with us, right?
And you know, he'd been a great football player. Right?
Well, you know, we
He
got championships.
Yeah.
Okay, we got championships in football. We didn't need Scott that bad in football. We needed him in baseball. Scott was an outstanding baseball player.
You know, I
We-
quit water skiing. My family was water skiing, and my
Oh,
favorite
that's a good
sport.
point.
My favorite sport's not basketball; it's water skiing.
There you go.
I thought
That
it was
is
pole
what I
vaulting.
love more
He was
than
a
anything.
pole vaulter in, what was the grade?
Oh,
Fifth,
pole vault.
sixth grade. He was pole vaulting 10 feet in sixth grade, right?
I actually was
Seventh grade.
I was
Oh, seventh
actually
grade.
through Little League. We had some really good teams in Rose Park.
Yeah.
And they said, "You're an idiot. You're playing basketball. Go play baseball."
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I
I
love basketball.
watched you
And
play.
I love baseball.
And Babe Ruth. You know, we played on opposite sides. We had a north and a south. And the north team, 13-year-olds, right? You had a 13-year-old all-star team. You had both on the north and the south team. Scott was over on the other side, the north team, and I was on the south. And I watched Scott play, and I thought, man, the only sport that I played that we didn't take state in was baseball. Had we had maybe Scott and Perry,
Perry's a good baseball.
maybe we could have won it, right? But when Perry and I got done with football, and we'd taken it, and we'd already had our scholarships. We wanted Scott to get a scholarship, and we wanted him to do well. And so we thought anything we could to make sure he succeeded too. And we knew he would, but we just wanted to make sure that happened. But I never felt like I was always confident in everybody on our team that if they were going to the foul line at a tough time, high pressure pack time, they're going to hit it, right? Everybody did, and I expected to do the same thing. I didn't want to let anybody down, like Scott was saying before, and I knew that my back was always covered. Didn't matter who it was, that it was always covered by you guys. And being put in these situations and knowing you guys' heart, I think, was probably the biggest thing for me. And then when it comes to Coach Godfrey, I think he taught me something that I tried to implement for my kids, and that is, no matter how much you're yelling and screaming or whatever when you're out there on the court, your will to win has got to be higher than that influence of that yelling and screaming, right? I mean, in other words, there were times when we're out there and it's pressure packed and Clark's out there screaming and yelling at us, and I mean, we didn't care, right? Our will to win was so much higher than what, having him get on our case, right? It didn't even bother us. Now I know it kind of bothered Spencer and it kind of bothered Burke, but it didn't bother at least 3 of us. Yeah, we're just looking at it.
That's coach.
We're there. That's just the way he is, right? Hey, don't worry about it, man. Just go, 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 go.
Didn't bother me.
Didn't bother you either. And one other thing was that I think that in sports you learn a principle that's really, really important. And that is when you have gone as far as you can go and you just can't go any further, you still got something left in the tank. And you can still go a little bit further. And so one of the things I wanted to do with my kids is get them into athletics so that they could get that. So that they would know that, hey, I've gone as far as I can go and I'm done. No, you can still go a little bit further. There's a little bit more in the tank that you didn't know about. And he would push that.
Yeah.
That extra amount in that tank, when you thought you were done, like Spencer was saying, okay, all I know is when I'm done, I'm going right to the locker room. Right? You're done, right? You knew that you could give just a little bit more. And I think that extra running, that kind of stuff helps you.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate that. Tom, I want to give you some accolades too. This is really neat. I mean, there's one thing to go to a 40-year reunion or something like that, but to go with people you really love, and I think you develop kind of almost a love for each other when you're fighting and you have the same goal towards each other. I feel bad for Perry that he left. I mean, that he went so early.
Yes.
You know, he and I had a good relationship, and man, I'll tell you what, he was another one that was just solid.
Yeah.
On the court, on the football field, man, he'd do anything for you.
In the locker room.
Well, locker room was a different story. I got more stories that we could talk about.
We're not allowed to talk about the locker room. There's
Yeah.
certain sacred places and things we don't talk
Exactly.
about.
That's
But
Las
also,
Vegas.
but most people don't know the locker room, because that's where, it all happens, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
And a lot of people in the stands and everything else will never, I think, get that feeling of like, what transpires, yeah.
Well,
So
halftime I knew we were
Yeah.
gonna win.
So my situation our junior year, going into the junior year, all of you guys were on the varsity squad as sophomores, and I was not. I played sophomore basketball, and Scott was a starter as a sophomore. You guys played some JV ball, so I was kind of new to the group at that time, and I didn't play a whole lot of minutes my junior year, but I felt like I was always practicing against the best and practicing with the best, because coach would break up the squads and put you on Scott, or sometimes I'd guard Scott, I'd guard you, you'd guard me, and guard Bradford. And I remember one time I picked him a couple of times during practice, because I knew how he dribbled. He could only dribble with his right hand. And every third dribble he'd pop it up, and I'd go in for the steal. And about the third time this one practice, he'd always have his elbow out there like this too, and I'd go in for the steal, and he'd just pop me right in the mouth, split my lip. So what the heck did you do that for? He says, well, don't reach in. So anyways, so I was new and didn't expect playing time, but I was preparing myself just in case I needed to be in those games. And Coach, there, as we've all talked about, there's this brotherhood in sports, and then there's something special at times where there's an extra bond there that makes that brotherhood stronger. And I think you were that bond to really bring us together. And most of us didn't communicate with one another for many, many years, but I feel like brothers again. Right back on the thinking about our days on the court and winning. And I guess I'll say one other thing. We talked about Coach's style, and it could be challenging for some. Well, I happened to play sophomore football for Coach Godfrey because he coached the sophomore football team.
Same way.
And so it was a lot tougher on the football team than he was on the basketball team. So you were like a, you know,
I don't know.
You were a pup for the basketball team, you were kind of us.
oh man, he'd get us in little rooms and those veins, you saw maybe 1 or 2 veins in basketball practice. You'd see this whole neck full of veins in football.
I remember driving home sometimes just thinking, wow, Coach's veins were just, he's ready to kill us.
The one time, you guys, maybe not your team, but as one sophomore were putting it, you know, we always had the oranges and cut them. I just took the oranges and threw at them. And I had to pick them off the floor from way ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a couple of broken chalkboards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But,
No.
But
Trying to pull the arm out of the broken chalkboard.
but
Oh, jeez. Oh, don't mind me of that. How do I get out of this thing? You know, it's easy to go in, but how do you pull it out?
Yeah.
You know?
But
Oh,
Coach,
jeez.
we knew you loved us, we loved you, and we really thank you for all that you did for us. Just echoing what these other gentlemen have said.
Can I just add to that, because
Okay.
Al's not here, I wish he would have been able to join us, and I know you have to get out of here, I'll be quick. Al, bless his heart, one day, once he came up to me in practice, and he said, "Burke, what's the matter?" I said, "I don't think Coach likes me." And he said, "Why is that?" And I said, "Because he's always yelling at me." And he puts his arm around me and pulls me in, and Al, he's like an older brother to all of us, right? And he said, "Look, the day that Coach stops yelling at you, is the day you have to really worry about it, because that means he doesn't care anymore and he's given up on you." And I don't know, for me, I think that was the start of the junior season, but that helped me understand that you like me a lot more than I thought you did, because you gave me, so much positive attention, and and we all experience
Aggressive,
We all
positive
experienced
attention.
passing his classroom. When we passed your classroom in the hallway, he would always fuss over us and play with us sometimes. One time, this is a really fast story. He ran out in the hallway. He runs up to me and he does a box out drill, forced me into the lockers, and everyone's just like, watching, but. It was just fun like that.
Yeah, I coached math.
Right.
They accused me, you're a coach, not a teacher. You're coaching math.
I had your math class. I remember we were going to the tournament maybe my sophomore year, and you made us carry basketballs to every class.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're sitting there, and I don't know if you were on the second floor, but a ball was on a rope and trapped around, and they swung it out and it was banging against the window. A basketball, I don't know if it was lineman or somebody, but I gotta carry this basketball to every class. So.
And thank all of you guys for taking the time to do this. This is really special.
Well, keep track of each other, you guys. You understand, I did. My best friend was Al Garcia. He's the reason I got in the fight up in Bear River. They're calling names, Mexican speaking, all that. And I might that too, but that's different. When they did it, and I got in a fight up there. Well, Al is the one that made sure that I got to date that girl right there, because I couldn't. You talk about shy. I never asked a girl out for a date. And I never went to dance. All I did was sports, work a little bit, and that's it. But the fact that after a ball game, Al's driving, he has his girlfriend, Dave Van Wagen, good big kid. He's raising a really good team. He's big. And he was making out with his girlfriend. I'm sitting there alone in the back. And they're gonna drop me off. Says, "Clark, you like Corinne, don't you?" I says, "Yeah." "Well, we're gonna drive you over there. You can pick her." I said, "No, you're not." And Al wouldn't listen. He always vice squad for years. He wouldn't listen to me. He just drove over and parked. I says, "Okay," turned off the key. "We're waiting for you to go in." And I said, "I'm not going in there, Al." He says, "You're going in there, or we're not gonna go." And finally I did, and knocked on the door. And their dad answered the door, and he says, "What do you want?" Like that, and I was scared to death. I think you had curlers in your hair, didn't you?
I did.
But anyway, that was my first date in my life. Then I never dated for another year. And then after that, free will, knew that wasn't it.
Well, all
Kid
these
free.
guys here were pretty shy too, so.
But if I had a reunion, a basketball reunion, I'd be the only one there. That's it, they're all dead.
Hmm.
Well, Coach, love you, thank you.
Yes,
Love you,
thank
Coach.
you.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Steve,
Love you guys.
Appreciate it.
Bert,
Yeah,
Spencer,
love you.
thank you, great to see all of you. Okay,